Hello everybody and welcome along to the TGP series. It's a Tuesday night, which means it's TGP1 action for you. We are in the fantastic Suzuka circuit where we've got a very good qualifying with just over 5 minutes left to go and race lined up for you. Not only is it going to be a pretty special night in the TGP1 series with this fantastic title battle we got going on, but it is also the 800th TGP1 race tonight, and a man who has been part of pretty much all of those is joining me in the commentary box tonight. I welcome along Dom Smith. Dom, welcome along. Thank you very much for joining me, and what can we expect to see from tonight's action?
Yeah, good evening, Mike. Yeah, really looking forward to this one. Japan and Qatar, two completely different circuits. The 800th race, as you said, we've got Cam and Softy, 2 points between them in the championship battle. Cam with the edge for now, but in qualifying, it's Softy with the edge. 6/10 clear of Cam on pole, so it's between these two heavyweights for that top spot. And Shane, we're expecting him to be a bit higher up, but currently P19, yet to set a lap in. Expect him to improve very soon.
Yeah, we actually got Shane just coming around the final corner to finish a lap. Let's see where the man in pink goes. And he goes straight into P2 on a 1 minute 27.1. That's cutting the gap to Softy now to just under 4/10 of a second. So that's good stuff to see. It was worth noting before we went live on air that Cam and Softy both did their first runs on the medium tyres. Now, in that run, Cam was actually the quicker driver by about 4/10. And again, just before we went live, Cam went out for his first soft tyre run, but invalidated his lap and then had a small spin, so just came back into the pits. We are now keeping an eye on Jonas, who's provisionally P4, who's just started a lap. So we'll see him as he goes around in this green machine. He's wiggling his way through Sector 1, which is just turn after turn after turn. And a really, really challenging track for the drivers, particularly so early on in the lap. You just cross the line, you just get yourself going, you psych yourself up, and then it's just corner after corner after corner being thrown at you. And John is handling the first sector very well, but not a personal best on.
Yeah, it's not at the moment. Jonas needs to find a bit more time. He'll be happy, I think, in a moment to be P4 and only about 100th away from Cam. If he can find just a 10th, he's straight up into P3, but he knows much more quicker times are to come in this session. Still just over 4 minutes to go. Jonas round these final few corners, and it's, of course, a multiplayer livery tonight, the F1 World Car in use. Unfortunately, an issue with the game has caused this to happen, but it's quite nice, though, to see these different liveries for this big occasion.
Yeah, we get an idea of the driver's creative side, and I've got to be honest with you, most of the creative sides are pretty poor. But this one that we're seeing on board with Jonas at the moment is quite good, but he's got some traffic coming into that final chicane. He's hit this just at the wrong time. He was purple during Sector 2. He was finding just about 2/10, but he gets on the power well, and he finds the shortest route to the line. Jonas improves to P3. He found that 10th that he needed to push himself further up on row 2, but he's certainly going to need to find more time if he's going to challenge those in front of him. And one of those who was in front of him was Cam, who's on an outlap as we speak.
Yeah, and all this while, Cam, as he drops place after place, he's going to feel more pressure inside. He knows he's got that 2-point lead. The gap's been coming down week after week, but Cam needs a strong result here. P2 isn't the end of the world. That could be fine for him. But yeah, he needs to get a good lap in, and the pressure is on to do that now.
And obviously we've got an interesting challenge coming with Qatar next, obviously back on the Formula 1 game this season. So we'll see how the drivers get on after a season away. Obviously, the last time we were raced on Qatar, we had completely different cars, so worth bearing in mind that as well. We're just watching Court at the moment, going around in the BWT livery, which he has borrowed from Alpine. Court was finding a bit of time in Sector 1, but not very much, but getting very ragged by the looks of it in some of those corners. So we will see him come up to the end of the second split now and see how his lap is developing. Court, of course, the Dutch driver, he less successful of the Gillison brothers. His brother far more successful, and obviously you can listen to both of their stories of TGP in the world generally on the TGP Has a Podcast series, which you can catch on the YouTube channel and Spotify. But for the moment at least, Court decides to bail out on that lap and come into the pits.
Yeah, Court's ambition outweighs his skill, just like normal there, unfortunately. He'll be looking for an improved lap, but it's not bad for now. Cam has started his lap, but I think he's already invalidated it. So again, more pressure applied. Now he's going to have to save the ears, I believe, and go again. He's still flying, but maybe he's rushing back to the pits.
I was going to say, he's pushing on this lap. I mean, it's perhaps a bit short-sighted. We've got just over 2 minutes to go, so there's not enough time for him to come back into the pits, change tyres and go out again. So he needs to make sure he keeps these tyres in a good operating window, Dom, but pressure's on for our championship leader.
Yeah,
oh,
really
he's spun!
And
And he's clipped the wall, and he would have been Well, he'd have been very lucky if he got away with damage. Chiapelli's picked up a penalty and all of that, and Johners, I think it was Johners, no, actually it was Magic Poop Cannon, was arriving on the scene at the same time. And, it's a disaster for Cam and a disaster for Luca, who's got a penalty for that.
Yeah, I mean, Luca hasn't done too much in this qualifying already, but that has ruined the end of his session. I'm not quite sure who was to blame now. I don't know if Luca was kind of caught napping or if Cam was... I don't know what happened, but Cam is pitting, and that's going to be his qualifying finished.
Well, that's a disaster for him. Softy, meanwhile, has invalidated his lap time, and I don't think he's going to have enough time to get round to the end of the lap and start again. We've got the Confessor, who's on an outlap, and he's leaving it very tight. He's not even the end of Sector 1 yet. Johners, meanwhile, is on an outlap as well, and he's not long come out of the pits. These drivers are leaving it very late.
Yeah, I think they should just make it, but they're going to have to get a move on, and John is, of course, right behind. I think it is Shane in front of him, is it? Or is it at least another Alpine car? There's a few Alpines today, a bit confusing.
No, Shane's just leaving the hairpin. So is that Jack Pearson, maybe?
Might be, but...
Yeah, no, Jack Pearson's at the end of the lap.
Okay, but...
Oh, they're racing to the finish line, Dom.
Yeah, and John's not going to want to start his lap right behind another car. He's going to want to get the move done before then. But there's 4 cars here, are all coming round to the final couple of sectors. I'm not sure Jonas is going to make this. It's going to be very tight. And if he does, his tyres are going to be, well, a little worn.
Yeah, definitely. Softy's coming to the pits to retire, so he's not going to go any quicker. We've got the Confessor coming to the last chicane. He's just let through what I think is Matt Tibos or Alistair Bain. Let's have a quick look. It was Alistair Bain, so Alistair's about to come to the line. Aidan Griffiths is not going to improve on 8th. Look at that machine. Fishy's just flashed up into 2nd place. Good lap from him. Alistair Bain goes 12th, but Dom, let's keep an eye on the Confessor then. The man who realistically is the only other driver with a chance of claiming the pole position, because look at that. Look at all those drivers that didn't make the line. Johners and Court didn't make it. They were miles off.
Yeah, disaster for them. Fishy has gone to P2. What a lap from Big Shay. That means Cam's going to start no higher than 5th. Not what he needs.
Sorry to interrupt you there, Dom, but the Confessor is just struggling to tame this car. And he's going to be miles off in the first sector, isn't he? He's 3 tenths down on his personal best. He was just sideways, corner after corner, being very greedy on the curb, and it's cost him.
Well, it's down the man who's flying at the moment. Purple in the middle sector. He's about 4 tenths up on his current best. If he can get it really hooked up these last couple of corners, it could be P2 for Dan.
Yep, here we go, the run to the line. The man in the Renault Tribute, he comes to the line, he goes P2. He doesn't get into the 1 minute 26s, but it's a very good lap time for the man from Liverpool. What can Shane do as a response? Can he beat down and get onto the front row? He is really pushing through Spoon Curve, and as he comes onto the back straight now, we're going to get his second split time. In just a few moments, he's got a car ahead of him that keeps out of the way. That's good work from them. I tell you what, the Confessor has found about 2 tenths in that middle sector and he's purple, but he's still a 10.5 down on his personal best.
Yeah, it's not great. Hickey and Roy have both got ahead of Cam. What can Confessor do? Can he find the few tenths he needs to get back into P2 ahead of Dan and Fishy? He crosses the line, he can't.
No, again, he found time in that last sector, but it was his first sector that was doing for him. He lost 4 tenths of a second, and that was not good enough for the Confessor, who's going to line up 4th place, which is a disaster for him. And Cam is down in 8th.
Yeah, not the qualifying that Cam needed. He knows that he just needs 2 good set of results in these races to kind of maintain that gap to Softy, but Softy has done exactly what he needed to do. Pole position by 2 tenths of a second, and Cam down on the 5th row. Not at all an ideal qualifying for him.
Nope, and Cam has got in touch with us to let us know his thoughts, but let's just say we can't broadcast them. So, let's give you a rundown then of the qualifying results. So we had Softy, who takes yet another pole position with Dan the man joining him on the front row. Dan, who does go well around the circuit, let's not forget when he was chasing down Shane just last season and found the wall on the exit of 130R. But it's then Machine Island in 3rd, the Confessor in 4th. Jack Hickey, a good place for him in 5th, with Jonas in 6th. 7th was Jovial Manatee, with Cam 8th. You can see there his best lap time on the medium tyres. Didn't get a time away on the softs in the end. Court Gill was 9th, with Aidan Griffiths rounding out the top 10. Viva Lamerco was in 11th, with Wet Lemons in 12th. Alistair Bain, Sleepy Boy, in 13th, and Mayor Quimby in 14th. Matt Tibos 15th, Magic Poop Cannon in 16th. ERT Jordan 17th. Luca Chiapelli with a grid penalty, qualified 18th. Jack Pearson and Kong Hoffner 19th and 20th, respectively. So Dominic, we are expecting a dry race. What can we expect to see strategy-wise, but also approach-wise to this race? I mean, we've got the likes of Cam arguably out of position. They're going to have to go for it in the early stages, aren't they?
Yeah, I think medium to soft is going to be the main strategy, the main point of call for a large part of the drivers. But like you said, Cam has to kind of go for it. He has to get into that gap and maybe pit early, do an undercut. So I won't be surprised if Cam does the opposite, starts on the softs, pits for mediums around lap 5 or 6. But yeah, it was actually Luca that messed up with Cam. He saw him last minute and unfortunately has held his hands up. That has, of course, ruined Cam's final attempt of a lap. But I think either way, Cam was never going to get back to the pits anyway, so I don't think it makes much difference.
No, I don't think it really affected the grid necessarily. But nonetheless, I suppose just an incident that both of them would have rather have avoided. Well, we have got the drivers almost ready to go. Do make sure you let us know your thoughts during this race because we're about to get going because we've got 3, 4, 5 lights on the grid in Japan. And we're underway, and it seemed to be a good start from Softy yet again, and Dan the Man has dropped a little bit further behind. Machine Fit Island isn't going to be challenging into turn number 1, and neither is a Confessor, as they make their way through turn number 1 now. It's all very clean. Oh no, it's not! We got cars off in the background, and we've got Alistair Bain out of the race, Mayor Quimby and Wet Lemons involved in that one as well. Disaster for them. Meanwhile, Dan the Man has held on to second place. Softy scarpering away out the front of Machine Island. It's getting pretty racy behind Dan the Man, but further back, Cam hasn't made up any ground at all. He stayed in 8th.
Crucially, though, he kept out of any sort of carnage in turn 1. We saw, I think, both Wet Lemons and Alistair make contact early on turn 1. It just came a bit together, a bit rough, but they're both now kind of out of this race already. But yeah, great start from Matt Tibbles, a bit further back. 4 places gained, and there's a moment again for, I think, Luca, a bit further back too.
Yeah, we had a car off into the gravel on the exit of the second Degner. We got cars up the inside of each other into the hairpin. Drivers just sorting themselves out after a messy couple of corners. We even saw Cam get a bit out of shape, and that almost allowed Viva Lamerco through and up into 8th place. Cam's going to want to focus on what's going on in front of him rather than what's happening behind. All drivers on the medium tyres except Matt Tibos, Aidan Griffins, Kong Hoffner and Mayor Quimby on the softs and the hards respectively.
Tyre wear's not too bad here, so I won't be surprised if Cam still tries to do the undercut. But look at this, he's all over Jonas. He's pushing him around the corner. He's got a great chance now to get him down into the chicane. Can he get late on the brakes? Jonas, of course, himself is tacking Roy ahead. So Cam for now has to settle for P8.
Yep, Jonas was getting really racy there. All 3 of them getting really racy as Softy streaking away. But we got moved further up ahead. We've got Dan the Man having to defend for Machine Island, but for the moment at least, no positions changing. Well, there is a position changing further back as Court Gills made his way even up into 9th place.
Yeah, good move from Court, crucially getting back ahead of Merck, who's now lost another place to Matt Tibbles. Matt Tibbles on those soft tyres, working his way through the field, the best start of anyone so far in this race. But Fishy continuing, I keep saying Fishy, sorry, Big Shay, continuing to battle down the man. And this all the while is allowing Softy to clear off up front.
Yep, Softy is in a class of 1 at the moment, and the Confessor staying with these 2 and dropping Jack Hickey. So Jack Hickey now second behind. Oh, and Cam's had a spin, and he's just about kept it out the wall. My goodness me, I caught it in the corner of my eye. I have no idea how he's still in this race, and I have no idea how he only lost 1 place. He's living life on the edge at the moment.
Yeah, he's feeling the pressure, isn't he? A poor qualifying and so far a poor start to this race. He's now down to 9th. Luckily for him, it's just 9th. There could have been so much more, but he's behind Court. He'll want to clear him soon, but Cam is really on the edge here. He'll want to pit soon, I think. Not just yet, but in a few laps' time, get into some clean air, get his head down, and start going after some big points in this race.
I think he's going to need to be honest with you, because he's just not finding any sort of form. But look at these 3. Look at them go. Dan the Man's having to defend on the inside. The Confessor's trying on the outside, but Machine Island sends it up the inside into the chicane, but somehow can't get the move done. And this leaves himself open to the Confessor on the exit, who's got the better traction, got that wider line, and for the moment at least has 3rd place. But now he's going to try and take second off of Dan, and he's straight up the inside. And the Confessor, in a matter of corners, has gone from 4th to 2nd.
Oh, this is the track that really suits the Confessor. What a move, a double pass on Shay and Dan the Man into P2. Now he can start to attack and see if he can do anything about the pace of Softy. I'm sure Softy's been managing that in the early part of this race. Confessor already down to about 40%, so a lot worse off than Softy is. But yeah, crucial move there from Confessor.
What will be interesting to see now is whether the Confessor just sort of scarpers away, gets his head down, maybe uses a bit of the battery. Oh, he's not going to there. I don't know if it's... Oh, no, he is off. He's gone well off, and that ruins what I'm about to say, because all those places he's made up, he's lost, and an extra one, as he drops down to P5 behind Jack Hickey. But, Dom, what I'm about to say was, which is irrelevant now, I must say, but Was he going to get his head down and try and get on with it? Maybe that was his approach, and that left him to a mistake in the Degners. But I'd say he's very lucky to still be in this race.
Yeah, a bit like Cam, very lucky there to get off without much damage. But yeah, he's down to P5. All that hard work to do again. Cam is pushing Court around, and it looks like he's finally now going to get that move done as they go up to 130R. He's got to be careful because Matt Tibbles on these fast softs is right behind him.
Yep, here we go then. Machine Island trying to go around the outside of 130R. That would be a brave move, but he's going to try his luck up the inside into the chicane as well. Dan the Man holds on to it, and he's being frustrated, Machine Island, by Dan the Man. This is leaving him open to attack again from behind. This time it's Jack Hickey who's there.
I bet Softy can't believe this. A 3-second lead, but here we go again. Fishy, round down the Man, he's through, and now can Jack Hickey get involved in this down at turn 1? Not quite. Doesn't quite have the battery or straight to get through, but Confessor wanting to get back in on this fight too. Also, keeping close to Hickey.
Yeah, we also got moved further back between Court and Johners, but not quite working there. The Confessor actually clipped the back of Jack Hickey there, and both of them lucky to still be pointing the right way, and by the looks of it, at least, without any damage. But that has meant that Jack Hickey has dropped off the back of Dan the Man, and now might we see Machine Island be able to get Dan the Man, who seems like the cork in the bottle at the moment, as there's quite a train forming behind him. And look at all these drivers. Yeah, we've got second all the way down to, I think it's 11th. That's what, 10 cars involved in this. It's great stuff.
Yeah, I think Cam, if he wants to think about this championship, needs to come in soon, either pit for the hards or try and risk to get those softs to the end, because he's losing far too much time here. If he can get in early and just try and undercut 2 or 3 cars at least, then he's looking a lot better, because at the moment his 2-point lead is going to be an 18-point deficit.
Yeah, and he's right. Oh, he's made another mistake though. This time he was trying to put a move on Court Gill, and he got a swapper on and ran wide and spoon. And this has allowed a chance for Aidan Griffins to come by, and maybe even Matt Tibos. We're on board with Matt Tibos now. He's going to find himself on the inside of Aidan Griffins through 130R. That's brave. And Aidan runs a little bit wide there, and as they get towards the chicane, it's as they were. But Cam, he's ragged out there, Dom. He just needs to calm down.
He's the box, and he's done just that. He's got 2% battery left, so he's used all of it in the first 5 laps of this race. Not at all the race of what you would call a champion, if he can do that. But the fights continue up the field. Look at the train behind Big Shay. Softy's 3-second lead. He can just cruise up there. But this is crucial now. Cam needs to just get that clean air, head down, and go for the next 8 laps of this race. Yeah,
that'll be the most important thing for him to do at this stage. Let's see if he can put it off at least. But we have got a really good gaggle of cars, and I don't know, maybe as you said earlier on, Dom, Cam going for that undercut. We've got a lot of cars in close proximity to each other. If he gets out there on a set of hards, bangs in some good lap times, could that put himself in a net P2?
It could do. It's a big ask, and again, it'd be a sit and duck at the end of the race, I think, with those very old soft tyres. But he's crucially ahead of everyone else that has made that first stop early on. We could see now the likes of Aidan, Court, John has all tried to respond. Hung off now out of this race already. That's 2 retirements. But we could now see others respond and react and maybe make an earlier stop than they would have liked.
And you've got to think of the likes of the Confessor as well. Obviously, he made that mistake a little bit earlier on. He's clearly got more underlying pace than he's being able to use at the moment. So if he found himself in a bit of clean air, who knows what he could do. But I wonder if we'll see a few more people, maybe the likes of Roy, Johners, Court, come into the pits, try and pull that undercut as well. But here we go, the Confessor on Dan the Man. He's tried Dan the Man's tactic ahead of him, which is going around the outside into the first part of that chicane, and has put himself up into P3 as Dan the Man peels off into the pits.
Yeah, Dan the Man's aware of what Cam has done. He's the only one that seems to have come in, so he also might be thinking it's worth the risk to try and get those softs to the end. He does indeed go onto those soft tyres. Some drivers seem to prefer the hards this year, but again, the pace deficit not so much as previous games, but he should crucially come out ahead of Cam. Cam is in the final chicane now, but Cam continues to have clean air, and that's all he worries about.
Yeah, and also what was really key there for Dan is he was in the first pit box, which is really, really big round here. Makes a real difference. So Dan the Man then comes out still ahead. He's on the softs. Oh. Cam and Dan are on the softs, Dom.
Yeah, it's a big ask, but it's not... Japan on this game doesn't seem to be that big a tyre wear deficit track, so I think it should be okay. There's a yellow flag further up. Who's had a spin? It's Jack Pearson. No surprises there.
We move on. So, Jack Hickey is now dropped, interestingly, outside of that second gap to the Confessor, at the moment at least, which would mean he doesn't get a DRS. Now, he hasn't really got Jovial Manatee close enough behind him, and as I say that, he now does dip under the second mark again. But what's quite interesting, these guys, although they're all within a second of each other, they're not really holding each other up. They're not really costing each other time, battling. They're just cruising.
Yeah, I'm surprised by anyone that Dan the Man seems to be holding up Cam. Dan the Man's going very slow all of a sudden. He had good pace, didn't he, earlier in this race? But now suddenly he's all under attack from a guy that was, what, P10 before his pit stop? So yeah, interested to see what's this is about. Is Cam going to get a move here on Dan the Man? It could be a fast one into 130R.
He's certainly going to try it. It's the wrong way round in terms of the car colour, but Cam makes his way up ahead of Dan the Man, and that could be a podium in a minute or two, because look at all those drivers that are coming to the pits. Dom, crucial stage of the race that we're heading into.
Yeah, 9 cars come into the pits. Dan the Man's going to attack Cam again, and Cam has nowhere, so we'll do little defence. But all these cars coming out the pit lane now. Watch out, Dan. There are cars coming out that box, so be careful. Both of them, crucially, ahead of that pack.
But he's in a net P3. It's worked brilliantly for Cam. This undercut has been a masterstroke. He's ahead of the Confessor, Jack Hickey, Machine Island. Machine Island's huge loser in all of that. He came into the pits in a net P2, and he's now what? 6th? Oh, a net?
Yeah, but Cam's tyre life is not going to be that good. He's still got 6, 7 more laps to do on this set, and yeah, he's all right for now, but suddenly lap 10, 11, he's going to start feeling it, and Confessor right behind him is probably the second quickest, if not the quickest man on this track. Couldn't get his qualifying lap in, has been stuck behind traffic in this race. Softy continues to kind of ease this one out front. He's pitted. The top 3 still have to pit, but yeah, let's see now what Confessor can do as he closes up on the back of Cam, who's all over Dan the Man.
Yes, he is, and we've also got Machine Island all over Jack Hickey. Jack Hickey 2.1 behind the Confessor, won't have any DRS, and as you've rightly said there, Dom, the Confessor very quick round here, and will do well to get close to Cam and Dan fighting in front. Jonathan Court peel off into the pits. Viva La Merco carries on round, and we'll get a brief moment leading the race. And here comes Cam up the inside of Dan, but Dan's got this one covered. He knows what he needs to do. Keep good speed into that first part on the outside, and you can hold the place into the second part and compromise the opponent's run on the main straight. But that's not going to affect Cam, though. He's got the DRS open. These two get very close, but Cam makes his way up into a net P2.
Yeah, good move from Cam now. Can he try and pull a little bit of the gap? If Dan the Man starts fighting with Confessor, that could be a chance for Cam to start to try and pull clear. But the battery life on that in that car is just, it's down to 5%, 6%. It's just, oh, he's off. Oh, no, I think it's my lag. Sorry, he's not off. Yeah, he's okay.
Yep. Viva La Merco's picked up a penalty and all of that as well. He hasn't pitted yet, so he's sort of, well, he's out of sync with everybody, really. But look at this. We've got Machine Island, who's got his way past Jack Hickey now, and there's a second and a half between the two of them. So really, we've got a battle for second going on, and I think it's sort of the wrong way round in terms of pace, actually, because the Confessor's probably the quickest. Then I'd say it's probably Machine Island, then Cam, then Dan, and with that tyre disadvantage from Cam being on those softs for an extra 2 laps than the likes of the Confessor and Machine Island, he could be easy picking, because he could find himself dropping. And Dan the Man doesn't want to wait, though. Look at him. Look how close he's getting, Dom.
He's pushing him. Will he just wait until that straight to get the DRS? Looks like he might try and move before it. Cam defending, but I think Dan is just going to sit back and wait. Dan the Man so much quicker through this section, and now he's got a great chance, a glorious chance into turn 1. Confessor a bit too far back to try and move himself, but Dan the Man with better battery usage can now get him before they even get to turn 1. I think indeed he does. Easy stuff.
Yep, candy from a baby stuff from Dan the Man, as we've had Viva La Merco into the pits now. So this is a genuine battle for second place on the road as well as in our minds. So Cam now turns his attention to the man behind him, who is the Confessor, as Softy continues to stretch his advantage out the front. Now the gap 4.8 seconds.
Looking good for Softy, isn't it? He needs this win. He needs to claim that 7th victory of the season to, for the first time this season, take the lead of the championship. He's 2 points adrift at the moment, but he's definitely going to be going ahead as things stand. Cam struggling to hold on to this podium spot. Dan the Man now, like what Cam tried to do the previous lap, will try to pull the gap, but these three are just sticking together, and Big Shay Bay, who I think used to be Machine Island, am I correct? He changed his PSN recently.
He's still Machine Island.
Confused. Oh, is he? Oh, for me, he's Big Shay Bay.
Oh, mine is Machine Island.
Okay, well, Machine Island / Big Shay Bay is closing in on this trio.
If we could all make sure we don't. Oh, I think the Confessor, again, it was lag. Just sort of, well, put himself inside Cam, and Cam is not letting this one go without a fight. And these two, they're not only battling each other, but they're going to be battling with Dan in a minute as well. And they're side by side through 130R. This is great racing. Dan, once again, the cork in the bottle. The Confessor almost defending on the inside from Cam. The two of them, they do make contact, and Confessor and Cam were just banging side pods, let alone wheels on the exit of the chicane. And look at Machine Island now. He's all over the back of Confessor now as well, thanks to these two's battle. But for a moment, Dom, I thought we were going to have 3 cars going side by side into the chicane.
Yeah, I think all of their hearts would have been in their mouths there, and that was breathtaking stuff. You can see Machine Island all over the back now of the Confessor. This trio has become a 4-way fight. Yellow flags further back. I think that might be Matt Tibbles and Aiden, and maybe they've had some sort of tangle, but yeah, Mirko now back in the top 10. But look at this scrap, absolutely thrilling stuff. Cam, for now, has a bit of breathing space because Confessor under attack from Big Shea Bay.
Yep, and the Confessor ragged now. We saw him running wide in Degner earlier and ran a little bit wide there as well, but unfortunately for the Machine Island, didn't get a very good exit coming out of the second Degner, which didn't put himself in a position to challenge. Meanwhile, we've got a spinner further back. I think that is Wet Lemons. But these 4 still debating over who's going to finish second to Softy, who's now got a 5.7 second gap out front.
Yeah, Softy in control of this race, done everything he needed to, just has to cruise through these last few laps, but there's so much more to be decided in this race. This thrilling 800th TTB1 Grand Prix, I can't believe we've had so many, but this has proven to be another classic, a 4-way scrap for P2, a 4-way scrap for P6, so much action going on. In fact, that 4-way scrap for P6 has kind of allowed these 4 to have a bit more breathing space and means the worst possible result for Cam, providing he stays out of any trouble, would be P5, but he'll want more than that.
Yeah, he certainly will. And look at this, Cam's now back on the offensive again. Who would have thought it, considering his battery situation? But he decides not to attack this time round, just sticking with Dan. And actually, now we get on to lap number 11. Now his tyres are really starting to struggle. You have to think maybe it's just good place to be, just in Dan's wheel tracks with the RS Dom. What do you think?
Yeah, I think so. It's best he kind of like saves the ERS where he can now. Again, he goes off screen, but it's just the lag. But yeah, I think he just needs to save that ERS, build it up a bit, get up to 20-30%, because with 4%, there's no point overtaking down. You're going to be sat sitting duck on the next straight. So he needs to just use his head for the next couple of laps and then go for the attack on the final lap.
Yeah, and Machine Island still getting racy behind the Confessor, but he cannot get the exit of that second Degner right, or he'd be in a fantastic place to strike. I don't know what sort of setup the Confessor's running, but he's really struggling through those Degners, but his traction's fantastic. So if Machine Island can get a good enough run out of that second Degner, then I think he would be in a position to challenge into the hairpin. As we come to the spoon curve once again, our attentions, I'm sorry to everyone else in the race, but is very much focused on this battle for second, because it is quite some battle. I mean, look at this. We've got 4 cars separated by just a couple of tenths from each other, and the Confessor decides now is a good time to go, and Cam has to turn that into attack as well, and Dan the man's going to be swamped here, and he ends up well off the track as Cam moves up into the second place. Can the Confessor take it? Dan man might lose another place here to Machine Island, but for the moment at least hangs on. But you would have think now, Dom, Cam's going to be a sitting duck on this main straight for the Confessor.
He has to be. Confessor's so much quicker, so much more battery. He's going to get him surely into turn 1. He flies past Dan the man, and he's about to now fly past Cam. Indeed he does, into P2. Cam down the 3rd, but Dan, crucially, staying in this fight, 4th, 5th, and still Jack Hickey just about holds on from Roy and Jonathan P6. Yeah,
we've treated some fantastic battles at the moment, and as I said, sorry to everyone else who's having a really entertaining race, because this is the most entertaining battle we got on track at the moment. 4 drivers battling for 2 podium position places. One of them is our outgoing championship leader, and one of them is out of the track as Dan the man runs wide and finds himself dropping a place to Machine Island, and the man who started the last lap in 2nd now finds himself in 5th.
Yeah, that's good news for Cam. Gives him a bit more breathing space. Well, I say that. Already Dan and Shea have caught right back up again. But yeah, this is brilliant stuff. Just a lap and a half to go. Time is running out for moves to be made. These 4 just constantly swapping positions. I don't know who's going to finish 2nd, 3rd, 4th and 5th in this one.
I have to say, Cam seems really good in this section of track, which is what gave him that run on Dan the man into 130R last time. And I think this is where we got an example of the Confessor perhaps running slightly less downforce. I'd say what is really interesting, Dan the man sort of dropped off of these 3 now. He's still within a second, but he's certainly not within pouncing distance. And Cam really is within pouncing distance of the Confessor, but his battery situation is not filling him with very much hope. But as Machine Island picks up a penalty, it almost spins coming out the chicane, but our focus is once again on the battle for P2, because we've got Cam, our championship leader, our outgoing championship leader with DRS, and we overtake on, but he's not got the battery to get past into 2nd place, as Dan the man does make his way into P4.
There'll be one more chance for Cam. It'll be down that 130R back straight to try and get Confessor and take those crucial, what could be huge 3 points in this championship fight. Softy is going to take the championship lead, but it's damage limitation here for Cam. P3 is not bad, but P2 would be a massive result after this race that he's had. A poor qualifying, a poor start to the race, but he still has the chance to take P2 and 18 more points in this championship battle. But yeah, that last chance will be 130R. He'll be happy that Dan the Man and Shay behind him are now both running out of first two.
Yeah, one more opportunity into the chicane. One more opportunity for Cam to limit the amount of ground that Softy is going to catch him up by. Well, overtake him by. Let's not forget, and as Dom said, in this 800th race in TGP1, we're being treated to a classic. We are being treated to what is a huge turning point in this Season 40 championship battle. Softy is coming through 130R at the moment. Cam's made a little mistake, and that might be opportunity gone. We're going to have to switch to the front, because in a few moments, Softy is going to round the chicane for one last time and take what is another TGP1 victory, let alone this season. The man who's the most successful driver in TGP1 crosses the line to take the championship lead. And the Confessor is going to cross the line in second. He's held off Cam's advances. And a great recovery drive from Cam, you have to say, in the end to P3, managing those tyres well. Dan the Man came home P4, with Jovial Manatee getting past Jack Hickey in the end for P5 and 6. Jonas was 7th, Court Gill in 8th, and Machine Island after that penalty ended up in P9. Viva La Merco was 10th, Matt Tibos 11th, with Aidan Griffins just behind him in 12th. Magic Poop Cannon is going to cross the line now for P13, and ERT Jordan in a what I'm going to say is a visually challenged livery. It was P14, and we've got Luca, who isn't really here, cruising round to the line with Mayor Quimby and Wet Lemons will join them shortly. But Dom Smith, we've been, as I said, treated to a very entertaining 800 TGP1 race, and what was actually a very important race for the swing in this championship.
Yeah, indeed it was, and Softy, crucially in all that madness, of course, had to get the fastest lap. He did just that, about half a second quicker than anyone else managed, so crucially an extra point, which means he gains 11 points on Cam, swings the championship now into his favour. He's gone from 2 back to 9 ahead with 5 races to go. But yeah, what a race, a fitting race for the 800th TGP1 Grand Prix, but it was Softy in the end who took his 83rd race victory.
83 races. That's 10%, over 10% of the whole of the TGP1 races have been won by this guy. There he is, Julian Jackaloft, and the ex-military man, the man from Nottingham, stands on the top step once again. Cam noting after the race, heart in mouth moments. Heart in mouth is what he had while racing in that race. And you know what? From the clips I saw, I think that's entirely accurate.
Yeah, what a race. What a fantastic race. Anyone could have finished second or third there. But in the end, it was Shane that managed to get it behind Softy. I think Softy will be happy with that. He knows that's 3 more points in his favour. Cam, to recover to third when it looked like he was going to be on for, what, 10th or 9th in the first 5 laps of that race, he has to be happy in the end. But Dan the Man, P4. Roy stole P5, didn't he, with Shay dropping back to P9. But what a race it was. Aidan got passed by Matt Tibbos on the final lap. I think Aidan made a slight mistake, lost the back end of his car, wheel on the gravel, and ultimately that was what put Matt ahead of him into P11.
Yeah, well, we've given you a rundown of the order already, but Softy completing the treble, pole position, fastest lap, and the race win. Didn't lead every lap. Viva La Merco had a few of those for himself. But yes, huge stuff for the championship. And as the big wheel spins in the background, Cam very nearly found himself spinning in this race, as did the Confessor. The two of them, Dom, can we say quick, but just needs a bit more refinement? Is that harsh?
Not really. I mean, we're getting to the decisive part of the season now, aren't we? And there was a lot of mistakes there from Cam in qualifying the race, but you know, he came back to P3. I think Cam and Shane will be happy with the battle they had throughout that. Dan the Man and Shay. Dan the Man will be unfortunate in the end to miss out on the podium, having come so close to it, leading that train of cars for so long of the race. And in the end, I think his tyres gave out much quicker than Cam seemed to do, and Cam, of course, pitted first of everyone. So, yeah, Cam very well to take P3. But like I said, he's now 9 points back with 5 to go. He can't afford another P3 or P4 if Softy goes on to win this 801st TGP1 Grand Prix in Qatar.
Well, we'll have another interesting battle coming up for you, I'm sure. But I think we saw the importance of qualifying in that race. Now, it might sound a bit daft after we've just seen Cam come from, what was it, 9th, 10th, 8th, one or the other, to finish P3, but out-qualifying Softy seems to be important in these races. That's what we've seen so far this season. If they've out-qualified Softy, he's not had it his own way, and it's made it difficult for him. So is that maybe where the likes of the Confessor, Cam, who are very quick over one lap, is that what they need to be focusing on?
I mean, yeah, but it's so hard to beat Softy in qualifying. He doesn't seem to make any mistakes, really. He nails his lap, and then it's down to everyone else to try and get anywhere near him if they can. But yeah, Softy, he's had so many poles this season, I've lost count. More poles than wins. His Achilles heel seems to be the 35% races, where he's kind of not got the strategy right with the safety car or the decision to go onto softs or mediums. But yeah, this is going to be another big chance now for everyone to try and get a bit closer to Softy. It's a new track to a large part of these drivers. They haven't raced here in TGB1 before, so we don't really know what to expect. Softy, of course, is going to be quick. Confessor, we believe, is also going to be fast here, and Cam needs to make sure he keeps within striking distance to maybe himself snatch a shock pole position. Cam, of course, hasn't won since the opening week, which is quite crazy to say, really, for someone that's considered one of the title favourites.
Yeah, I think it is, and he needs to turn his form around. He's been getting away with consistency thus far, but Softy on the other end has been consistently winning, and well, at some point there will be a swing, and I think, unfortunately for Cam, we're seeing that swing at the moment, and he needs to sort it out, or he'll miss out, he'll lose out, and Softy will just cruise to this because at the moment he's being able to. And no one in some of the races looks like they can even get close to him. So we'd like to see people get close to him. We don't want to see Softy dominating week in, week out. I'm sure he would. But, gives us some sort of narrative. But we're back in the desert. And Dom Smith, I believe you've even visited Qatar in your time, haven't you?
I have. I haven't visited the circuit, but I visited Qatar last November, December for the World Cup. I actually thought it was quite a nice place. A lot was said about Qatar before the World Cup, but, everyone there was really friendly. And let's not get into political views, Mike. I'm sure, we don't necessarily agree with their political views. But yeah,
it's not the views of TGB series.
Not the views of TGB series. But, it's a nice place, nice people, really hot temperatures. And yeah, I mean, this is, of course, I think the first Qatar race in TGB history. I don't believe the track was on the game a couple of years ago. Although, maybe it was, I don't know. This is new, isn't it? This is a new track, I think. I don't think it was on the game 2 games ago. I don't think it was. I think it was thrown in because of COVID. So, yeah, a pretty safe bet. I don't think anyone here has raced a TGP League race around this circuit. But it is going to be very interesting. And I can't wait to see who has the edge. You would like to think Softy, wouldn't you? But, as I said, new track. Certain characteristics are going to suit others. There's the matter of the battery running out before the start-finish line because it's that demanding on it throughout a lap. So yeah, management is going to be crucial in qualifying. I
think you're right, and I think that with the likes of Softy, new tracks don't seem to faze him. It seems, he just needs to sort of turn out and do a good job. And we're currently riding on board Machine Island just so we can get a bit of an understanding. For those of you who aren't familiar with the track, just see what the drivers are up against. It is just relentless. It's corner after corner after corner. You get this hairpin here which is quite slow, but the slowest corner on the track, but most of them are so quick and they're so flowing as well. You've got to have a good rhythm around this circuit, and if you don't, then it costs you a lot of lap time, and they've really got to put themselves in a position where they can extract as much of that as possible if they're going to set a good time. And overtaking around here, you've got a good opportunity in the main straight. You've probably got a good opportunity into turn 4, arguably turn 6 as well. But other than that, you're going to be following drivers around as the World Cup Stadium, I think that's the World Cup Stadium at least, lit up on our left-hand side. And we're watching Machine Island now coming to the final corner to start his first flying lap and the first flying lap of this qualifying session.
Yeah, indeed, it is the World Cup stadium. I think they've kept a large part of them. One of the stadiums I remember was a completely recyclable stadium, so they've taken all the
Was
crates
that
down,
the
which was
was that the one with the containers? Was that one?
yeah, yeah. There was like 874 containers or something, and they've now taken them all down, and now got to rebuild the stadium somewhere else around the world. So that's quite cool, isn't it?
Yeah, I
Like
like that actually. In this whole reduce, reuse, recycle world, who knew? You can have portable stadiums now. Do you reckon for an away game they just go and build the stadium
that.
somewhere else? I mean, it brings a whole sort of different meaning to. Aiden's been disqualified. That's early.
Yeah, he didn't last 3 minutes in this session, so I'm not quite sure how that's happened.
To be honest, Tom, I struggle as well.
Not quite sure how he's done that. His car seems to be driving around still, so I'm not. Maybe Aiden said some politically incorrect things about Qatar and they've taken action. Not quite sure on that one.
Yep, and unfortunately, Machine Island, who was our leading driver on a lap, has just invalidated it. So thank you very much to you. And I don't know who is next. I think it was Owen, but I think he's also invalidated his lap time, so that's going well. Maybe Jonas? Jonas is our next driver on a lap then. So selling purple sectors in his green machine. I tell you what, I don't know about you, Dom, but the Qatari night sky looks a little bit pixely. I'm sure that will sort itself out. But Jonas, meanwhile, onto the start-finish straight. DRS wide open. And he sets our benchmark lap time, which is a 1 minute 21.7. Who's next? The Confessor immediately goes 7 tenths quicker. That's quite a gauntlet.
Yeah, good lap there from Confessor. Yeah, there seems to be a sandstorm or something going around this circuit at the moment. Lots of pixelated skies around this track. But yeah, Court Gellison's on a lap at the moment. He was quick in sector 1, but Court, like a lighthouse in a desert, bright but not very useful. Doesn't seem to have got it hooked up this season, unfortunately. And yeah, he had a poor start to the season, didn't score any points in the opening 2 weeks. He was let down by that himself. But yeah, he'll want a result here. Softy has gone second, but I think the lap probably would have been on the medium tyres. He likes to do the first run on the medium tyres just to try and get himself into the groove. But Court Gillison round this final sector, my favourite sector of any circuit. And Court Gillison, well, he's out. He is the human equivalent of a participation trophy, Mike.
Yep, he certainly is. There's no Lunases at St Barnabas's, and Court has definitely got a gold star for turning up today. Interesting. Someone who hasn't really turned up yet. Softy, look at that. 4 tenths of a second off the Confessor after run number 1.
Yeah, I'm sure he'll go quicker than that. I think he did set that on the medium tyres, so more pace will be found. But yeah, it's a good banker lap to get in anyway. Still right at the front with Dan, Confessor. It's Cam that needs to worry about getting a lap in because he is still not set a lap. He's invalidated once again, and already about a third of the way through the session, he's back in the pits preparing to go again.
Yes, a lot of drivers actually on track still at the moment. I'm presuming on in-laps. Cam, as you just mentioned, in the pits. Alistair Bain coming around the last corner now. Colin Hoffner on an out lap, about to start a lap. Jack Hickey, I think, is just about to finish a lap. So let's see how he gets on the run to the line. This sort of Mercedes-esque car. Only good enough for P8, though, for him. Jack Pearson, we've just seen coming out of the pits there. Not really much to talk about Jack Pearson's lap. His contribution to this qualifying, I can imagine, will be quite slim. So, who else is out there doing something worthwhile? ERT Jordan, I think, has just started that time. He's up in a good place at the moment, up in P7. Jonas, meanwhile, is on a quick lap, though, Dom, and he's finding time in the first sector.
Yeah, very good first sector. I saw him hook it through turns 3 and 4, and he's at about a tenth or so up, but he's now invalidated almost immediately, so there goes that. He needs to find a few tenths to try and get himself ahead of Softy and Dan, but he's not going to do it like that. But this is so easy to invalidate this circuit. We're going to see a lot of time penalties, I think, in the race, which will be crucial. Of course, Cam and Softy in their heated battle, if one of them picks up 3 seconds more than anyone else around them, suddenly they're losing more points than what they would have hoped.
Yeah, you're quite right, actually. Jack Hickey, I thought was on a lap. Sorry, that's what I was miles away on, but he wasn't. Court, our favourite pink driver, is just started a lap time. The Sandstorm, thankfully, keeping itself just about far enough away. And we're going to get a split number 1 time for Court in a minute. These turn 4 and 5 are 2 interesting corners because you can actually take quite a lot of speed into them, can't you, Dom? And it's it really sort of does provide quite a challenging opportunity for some drivers to make quite a brave overtake if they fancy it.
It always catches me out. I always think it's a lot slower than it's going to be, so I tend to brake, but then realise, oh, someone's just zoomed past me on the inside. It's a real overtaking opportunity, and like you said, it's fast corners, but for me, I just can't get my head to get around that. I see it, and I think it's too heavy braking zones, maybe just the way it's laid out on the track map or what, but yeah, it's really tough, really thrilling set of corners, and like I said, the final sector, which Court is currently flying through at the moment. The final kind of 3 fast corners, maybe go down to 7th gear before flicking it back up to 8th into the fast left-hander before the final late braking zone. And Court Gillison is finding time, but look how much that battery runs out so soon into the lap. He doesn't have a chance to recover. And Court, currently down at P15, will look to try and get himself inside that top 10. The pink Alpine, your favourite pink Alpine, Mike. He's definitely not mine. Court Gillison, though, to the line. Where can he go? He goes P6.
Yep, finds 16 seconds on his lap there. So that's very good for him. We have got Softy on an outlap at the moment. Jack Pearson, who's just invalidated his lap time, just proving that he is about as useful as a glass hammer. Softy then just rounding these fast 3 corners. The Confessor now also on an outlap. Softy's been passed, I think that was by Machine Island. I tell you what, this is something worth having a chat about. Dom, of course, was Machine Island. He put on a good showing in the last race, but just let it all go at the end. And he's someone that we know has got pace, and we're about to see him cross the line at the moment, and goes P3, so good lap time from him. But again, someone who perhaps lacks a little bit of consistency.
Yeah, for so long in that race in Japan, it seemed like he was on for a potential podium. He was, in fact, even chasing for P2, of course. But yeah, in the end, it was P9. That 3-second time penalty, which shows just how crucial they can be in a tight field, especially what we're going to see here. So yeah, he needs to kind of get that consistency back, because he has the pace. We've seen him already challenge for victories and poles this season, but he just doesn't do it on a regular basis. And Cam once again invalidates. He's back into the pits with 8 minutes to go, and still no time on the board. P17.
Someone who is putting a time on the board, though, Dom, Softy on another quick lap. He's found 2 temps in the first sector. His first lap time, as we know, was on the medium tyres, and now he's on those red shod softs. And we're about to get a middle split for him now as we head his way towards the end of sector number 2. He's got 2 cars in front of him. They will just about be far enough out of the way, and look at this. 4.5 temps he's finding, and that is going to be enough for pole position. Let's hope that the 2 cars in front of us don't invalidate. His section of track is so quick. And the man from Nottingham, our new championship leader, as the car's jumping out of the way for the final corner, gets on the brakes, get it turned in well, don't run too wide, don't invalidate this lap time. And as the DRS comes back open once again, the battery's drained, but Softy's not, and as he powers to the line, he goes pole by 0.2 of a second on a 1:20.8, the first man into the 1:20s.
Yeah, and tensions now turn to Confessor. Can he respond to that? He's got 2 tenths to find to get himself back at the front of this qualifying session. Still time for another couple of runs from all these drivers, and he's 2 tenths quicker in the first sector alone. Confessor is really flying around here. This is a circuit he knew would suit him. If he can just keep it within the lines now, don't go outside that line, it's just too much. He could get himself right back out to the front. What a thrilling qualifying session this could be.
Yeah, if only the Confessor had a better start to the season, this could have been a really tasty championship battle between the 3 of them. The Confessor then coming to the end of the middle split. Has he been able to keep this time in the purple? He certainly has. 2.5 temps up through the quick right-handers. Keep it within the white lines, and he does. And the pink car, with just a few corners to go, is putting himself in a very good position to retake provisional pole. Softy took it from him just a few moments ago, but in an answer he's going to give immediately. He keeps it in the white lines on the exit and last corner. The DRS is open, and it's a short run to the finish line. And are we going to see the Confessor retake provisional pole? Yes, he does. By just under 1/10 of a second, the Confessor finds the time he needs.
What a response. 3 tenths found there for Confessor. He goes to the top, and Softy now will be getting back in that garage, getting ready for one final run to go again. Jovial Manatee's found 3 tenths in the first set. A bit of traffic ahead of him. He'll hope he jumps out of the way pretty quickly. I don't think he did in time. Royal Field, he was held up there. I don't know who that was, but not ideal at all. And I think it was Softy. Softy held up Roy there.
I think it
that
could
be a
have been.
qualifying ban.
Well, under the lights in Qatar, we're seeing all sorts going on, but one thing Softy wasn't seeing was a competitor in his rearview mirror. Roy puts himself P4 regardless, though, but we'll wait and keep you updated with the stewards report on that. But Dom, we've got to turn our attentions to Cam now, because with 6 minutes to go, He's finally got a set of soft tyres on that, and hopefully for his sake, will keep it in the white lines.
Yeah, the pressure is on. He has got a little bit of time now in his favour, so if he does do it again, he might just have enough time, enough breathing room to get back to the pits and go again. He needs to set a lap here. This is not at all what he would have wanted. He's 18th at the moment with time running out. He needs to get himself right to the front of this train. Confessor winning could help him massively, but he needs to get good points haul himself, and Softy will of course be in that fight. Cam needs to set a lap time, can't afford to go outside the boundaries. He needs to be at least within the top 6 places. He can't afford to keep qualifying 10th or 11th and then work his way up through the race. Cam needs to find time. It's purple sector 1 and it looks like a purple sector 2.
Yeah, he's really flying, isn't he? The man, I don't actually know if he's from New Zealand or not. I'm presuming he is. We're going to say he's from New Zealand, but the New Zealander, the Kiwi, just 2 corners to go, and he is winding this one up potentially for a provisional pole. Sends it through the last corner, keeps it in the white lines comfortably. The DRS is open, and for his first competitive lap time that's going to count, with just under 5 minutes to go, it's good enough for P2. And there's not much of a gap to split between the Confessor and Softy, but he's managed to do so.
That's a very good lap. He knew the pressure was on. He knew he couldn't afford to invalidate. Yeah, he still pulls out that 120.851, 9 thousandths of a second quicker than what Softy has managed. Softy now getting ready to go again on this lap. Confessor also preparing to do one more run. He's gone out there and he's invalidated, so maybe he's now trying to get back to the pits, because I think he did start a lap, but is now going to have to go again as he tries to get out of the way of everyone behind him. Quartz on a lap, a bit further back. P9 at the moment. He's still about a second off the pace of Confessor, but Quart will want to get himself a bit higher up. Already kind of where we expect to see him, around P8, P9, but he's a 10th up in the first sector. He's slightly gone a bit more quicker than that in the second sector. Can he pull it together now? A few corners to go. Quart needs just 1/10 to go ahead of Jack Hickey, but he needs a few if he wants to get anywhere near the pace of Jonas, but he invalidates and will be back in the pits to try and go again if the time allows it. Confessor then, still quickest, but by a 10th only. It's pretty tight at the top.
Yeah, the Confessor's still cruising round. I'm presuming he's going to be coming into the pits in a second. But we'll see how he does. Softy, as we've already said, on an outlap. Machine Island on an outlap. Jonas on an outlap. So a lot of drivers either getting themselves ready in the pits or out there at the moment, psyching themselves up. Mr. Chiapelli, Magic Poop Cannon. Both on laps. Magic Poop Cannon was, but he's invalidated. Kong Hoffner on a lap. Jack Pearson invalidates again. So, Softy then, our first of the big runners to set their final lap time. And I'll tell you what, let's ride on board, Dom Smith.
Yeah, let's see what he can do then. He's currently down in P3, is the Softcop, the championship leader. Needs to get himself back ahead of Cam and Confessor. I'm sure Softy knows he has more time to find. He can pull it out just when you think there's nothing there to be found. He goes and finds it. Of course, there is the grey clouds over him. He did block Joe Manatee on his last qualifying run, so will that go to the steward's room? Manatee did lose out on going ahead of Big Shay, at least into P4, but yeah, Softy needs to find time, and he's found a little bit of it in the first sector. How much more can he find in this second sector? He seems to have this hooked up very nicely, but how much quicker will it be? We've already seen Cam and Confessor find much improvement on their lap times. The soft cop needs to find just a 10th to go from third to first, and in the middle sector, it's looking very good.
Yeah, he's struggling. What looked like he was struggling from awful understeer, but the car just seems to end up where he wants it eventually. And Softy very committed through this last sector, as you have to be. The car on the ragged edge, the Confessor and Cam look like they're just coming out of the pit, so they will be starting their last runs very soon. But we're focusing on... No, we're not. Cam's retired. He can't go quicker than that. And Softy is about to go quicker than that, because Softy puts himself on provisional pole by just 27 thousandths of a second from the Confessor. Well,
it's over to the Confessor now, who's got a bit of traffic. I don't know who that was, but they've blocked him.
He's on that lap. Oh.
Big Shay's been disqualified for parking in a dangerous location, so I don't know if that was the car that... how long's left in this session? Sorry, it is an outlap. 1.5 minutes to go. I thought it was... Again, he's left it very late to get this final run in. But yeah, Big Shay drops to the back of the field. Not quite sure why. Maybe the same offence as Aiden. But Softy, crucially, 200s clear of Confessor. Softy will not get another lap in, so it is now down to the Confessor. And if Manatee or Dan can find improvements too.
Yeah, both of them on outlaps themselves, so we'll get an idea of what they're going to be doing soon. Dan's just approaching the final corner. Shane is just approaching the end of Sector 2, as we said, on his outlap. I think he's got enough time to get to the line. Yeah, he'll be fine. He'll be fine.
He does.
Dan the Man, meanwhile, starting his lap. Let's see what the Renault Tribute car can do. Up in P5 at the moment, so not a bad qualifying session from him thus far. But as we said, that gap to P4 is very tight, and Machine Island was involved in that before he got himself disqualified for something that we don't know what. So, yeah, keep an eye on that. Meanwhile, Dan the Man found a 10th in the first sector, Dom.
Yeah, Dan the Man finding time, needs to find just a little bit of time to go ahead of Manatee, who himself has just started a lap, but already the 6/10 difference back to Cam. If they want to try and displace Cam from that P3, who will start no higher. Like you said, he's retired from this session. He's done. It is just down to the Confessor for that fight for pole. You suspect Jovial Manatee, Dan the Man, John are really all fighting for 4th, 5th and 6th. Jack Hickey has found a bit more time as well out there. But Dan the Man, 2/10 up. Maybe he will find the time. I think it's a bit too much of an ask to then find an extra 4/10 in this final sector to get into the top 3. But Dan the Man finding improvement, looking like he will at least for now get ahead of Jovial Manatee, who himself is just a few corners back, looking for an improvement. Jonas is also about to cross the line. He's not going to find time. He's invalidated, so Jonas stays 6th. Dan the Man, can he find an improvement on P5? It's surely going to be at least 4th, and he goes into P4.
Yep, Jovial Manatee then approaching the final corner. Court Gills just pops his way up into P5, so good qualifying from him. And Jovial Manatee then run to the line. DRS wide open. And the man from Ireland is going to put himself P4. What about the Confessor? Oh, he's invalidated. That's it. It's game over. Softy's on pole. Unless Jack Hickey can do something pretty special. But looking at his dashboard,
I think that's it.
He hasn't. Well, that was a bit anticlimactical. But in the end, it's not a particular surprise who our top 3 is. And but look at that gap. Less than a tenth separating the top 3. And this is a quick track. You know, there's some quick corners in here. You've got to have full confidence in your package and your car. And clearly they did. So Softy then on pole from the Confessor, joining him on the front row. Our former championship leader Cam is in 3rd, Jovial Manatee 4th. Dan the Man is 5th with Court Gill in 6th. John is 7th. Jack Hickey in 8th for VRT Jordan 9th. Good qualifying from him. And Viva La Merca rounding out the top 10. Wet Lemons was 11th with Alistair Bain 12th. Mayor Quimby 13th. Matt Timos 14th. Mr. Chip Ellie in 15th. Magic Poo Cannon 16th. Colin Hoffner 17th. And one driver didn't set time, which was Jack Pearson. And 2 got disqualified with Machine Island and Aidan Griffins. So, let's see how we get on for the race. We've got a good grid, I think we've got lined up. But as we've already noted, the start could be crucial. I mean, if any of these guys are going to jump ahead of Softy long term in this race, I think they've got to make the move early on. They've got to get past him as quickly as possible to put themselves in that position where they can stay ahead or manage the race or whatever they've got to do. Otherwise, as we've seen so many times this season, Softy gets in the lead at the start and just runs away at a canter. And none of the drivers, I'm sure, will want him to be doing that.
Softy's starts are so good on this game. In fact, any game, any F1 game. Cam seems to struggle with them, so he needs to stick with Softy and Shane. He can't afford to drop to 4th or 5th at the start, otherwise suddenly he's in a fight he doesn't need to be in. The top 3 here are so evenly matched, it could be a real thriller. So let's hope the 3 of them stick together and we're treated for a fantastic Qatar Grand Prix.
I certainly hope so. The crowd, look at them, they're already cheering already and there's no racing happening. They're having a great time up there in the Paddock Club. Who can blame them? Tickets for the Paddock Club can be found on f1.com if you've got a second mortgage. Anyway, we've got 3, 4 and 5 lights under the lights in Qatar and we're underway, and it was a good start from the front row after quick reactions. The Confessor trying to make a good enough start on Softy, but he can't quite do it. And look at that, Cam has already dropped behind Jovial Manatee, and we've got Viva La Merca almost being squeezed off into turn number 1 there. Jovial Manatee getting involved in the top 3, and this is not what Cam would have wanted, because he can see Softy chasing off into the distance and he can see the Confessor in front of him, and he is turning his attentions onto Jovial Manatee, and Dan the Man's going to want to get involved in this one as well. On the soft tyres, Dan the Man, but he can't quite make a move and has to stay in P5 with Jovial Manatee in 4th and Cam making his way back up into 3rd.
Yeah, crucially Cam staying clear of Manatee in the end. He got jumped by him momentarily at the start. A fantastic start from Jovial Manatee, but Cam crucially getting back through. What a start it was for Aiden. Further back, he's gone from the back to 14th already, so a great start for him. Mr. Chiappelli seems to have had a little bit of a spin further back, so he's dropped to the back, but Softy crucially staying clear of the race. It's Dan the Man challenges Jovial Manatee for P4.
Yep, he's still going for it, is Dan, and look at the top three as well. The Confessor getting pretty racy behind Softy, it must be said as well. As the top three still as they were from the start of the race, the top five still as they were from the start of the race. But as we head into this quick section of track now, the Confessor just keeping himself tucked up behind Softy. The sandstorm still rages in the distance, but for the moment at least, the only storm on the track is Softy's pace.
Yeah, Softy needs to stay clear for now. The gap's just a tenth, though. Confessor is keeping him on as it's so close, and Confessor already looking for a move down into turn one. May get him before turn one. How much ERS will be used here as they try to defend and attack? Softy sets the fastest up, but it won't matter. Confessor through on the inside will be the new race leader as they go down to turn one. Unless Softy can hold on round the outside, runs out of room. Does he know? Confessor leaves it there for him, surprisingly, and Softy retakes that lead. But Confessor is still there. They're still side by side. Great scrap between these two, and Cam getting a perfect view behind, just watching them, hoping they both collide into each other.
Yeah, and in all of that, Dan the Man got up into P4 as well ahead of Jovial Manatee, but great racing between these two, giving themselves just enough room, but somehow the order stays as they were, at least for the top three.
Fantastic stuff it is so far between these drivers. It's Dan the Man, it's gone on the attack, going for the soft tyres. The rest inside that top 10, all on the medium zone. Quemby, I think, is the next back on those softs, but Cam will just want to sit back here. He doesn't need to push anything too soon. He's just got to stay back, manage that ERS much better than he did in Japan, and let Confessor attack Softy. A Confessor win isn't bad news at all for Cam. He'll like that.
Yeah, he certainly will. That's probably the better option, really, in terms of points lost, as we know how quick Softy is, and, well, the Confessor's already helped Cam out once this season, when he won in the Netherlands after Softy's penalty for his collision with Cam. But Jovial Manatee's starting to get detached from this, and we've almost got a bit of a top four situation going on now. DRS will be enabled, in about 10 seconds' time. The Confessor turns his attentions once again to Softy and P1 in this race. With DRS being enabled, Softy setting the fastest lap of the race, and all around down to turn number one. DRS not yet enabled for these drivers, but the Confessor getting almightily close.
We saw how crucial the undercut was in Japan. Will we see the same here? Dan the Man, if he pits earlier than the top three, could very well come out ahead of the top three. They'll be on slower tyres on that medium. Suspect it will be a medium to soft or soft to medium strategy. I don't think we'll see the hards here, not at this circuit. Further back, we're seeing a scrap between Owen and Shea. Owen just about holding on for now, but still, the gaps are so tight. Everyone inside this top 9, 10, 11 are covered by less than half a second to each other.
Yeah, really close. Despite all the fast corners in this circuit, as we've already pointed out, everyone being able to run quite... Oh, there's been contact! And the Confessor's lost some of his front wing, and it's pushed Softy wide, and Cam now has an opportunity for the race lead, but look at the damage on the Confessor's car. He went for a half-hearted move up the inside of Softy, and it's cost him second place, and some front downforce. Look how wide he's going. He's going to have to pit.
Oh, disaster. I didn't see that, but Confessor not what he needed. Looks like he was all over Softy, went for the move, and maybe it's not quite worked out, and Dan the Man all over the back of his car now. He'll have to pit, surely, change that front wing and go on to maybe the hard tyres, because the softs for 10 laps is a big ask. That's good news for Cam, who can now start to attack himself, but no, Confessor stays out.
I think that's daft. I think he's going to lose so much time. Look how wide he is. He should have pitted. And Cam's got DRS on Softy now. This has worked out brilliantly for him.
This is brilliant. Can Cam have a move on Softy into turn one? The gap's coming down. 4 tenths, 3 tenths, 2 tenths. He's thinking about it. Up the inside, he goes for it. Softy is still there, side by side. Further back, it looks like Confessor has lost time and lost places as a result of his damage from wing. And Cam and Softy make contact.
Yeah, and Cam trying his best. Wall of death impression around the outside of Softy. I think that was fair. I don't think that was intentional from Softy. And I think there won't be anything for the stewards to have a look at there at least, but the Confessor dropping like a stone, now down in 16th place. He should have pitted.
Yeah, no idea why he didn't pit. It seemed like the obvious thing to do. Maybe he thought, well, if I'm going to do a couple more laps, maybe then I can just go onto the softs rather than the hards, but instead he's now down in P17. He'll be wishing he'd come in. I'm not quite sure why he did. Bit of a strange call there from the Confessor and his team. Maybe they weren't ready for him. Maybe they were still half asleep. But wow, what we've got now is the top two in the championship, the top two in the race. This is going to be a thrilling finish. And Dan the Man is still in this fight. In fact, everyone is. As I said, the top 8, all within a second of the car in front, which means they all, other than Softy, get that DRS.
Yeah, we are now watching in full screen as we're seeing Cam providing an annoyance for Softy. He's like an itch right in the crook of your back. And Softy's either going to have to scratch it or let it defeat him. And for the moment, at least, Cam is in a great position to be able to leave Softy very uncomfortable, as Softy has to go defensive into turn number 1. Cam's going to have to go the long way around, but as we've seen already, that's probably the better line. Softy makes a bit of contact with Cam, but Cam has the lead of the Qatar Grand Prix.
That's not too bad for Softy though. Softy didn't use any urge to defend from that. He kind of just allowed it to happen. Thought maybe he could hold on, maybe make Cam use all of his, but Cam down to 50%. Softy still with 90%. So he's thinking long term. He thinks he still has a chance to come back into this a little later on. Still a long way to go, but Cam crucially ahead of his title rival, and he'll hope now Dan the Man can start to attack Softy.
Yeah, and he might even hope that Softy picks up some front wing damage from that little love tap onto the rear, but let's see if that does develop into something. At the moment, the gap's staying about 6-7 tenths of a second, but that's the same with the gap behind to Dan the Man and Jovial Manatee within DRS of this as well, as is Court Gill, as is Jonas, as is Jack Hickey, as is Viva Lamerco. The top 8 all getting DRS off of each other. Fantastic racing out there.
Yeah, it's really good, isn't it? At the moment, Softy's championship lead will go from 9 right down to 2. Flash as that could come into it. We're getting to the really exciting part of the season now, aren't we? But these two fighting, they're staying within half a second of each other, with Dan the Man also keeping within that DRS range. Jovial Manatee isn't too far back either. It's a train of cars in this kind of top 12, 13. A bit of a gap actually back to Mayo Quemby, who's 12. But now will Softy start to use his surge. He starts to use a bit of it. And DRS, can he get back ahead of Cam?
He's certainly getting close. Cam goes defensive on the inside line. Softy's going to be sent the long way round, but as we've seen for the last couple of laps, that's probably the better position to be. And Softy retakes the lead of the race as Machine Island further back sets the new fastest lap of the race.
Yeah, that could be crucial, as I said, the fastest lap point if the top 2 don't get it. But Cam looking like he wants to go for a move again on Softy already. This is one of the overtaking opportunities that we talked about. He thinks about it into turn 4. Softy a little cautious, maybe more cautious than he needed to be. Maybe wanting to kind of back up Cam a little bit into Dan the Man. But here we go. Great scrap between these two. In fact, no, that can't be the case, because Dan the Man has lost 4 tenths of these two in the first sector. These two are in a different race at the moment. They're racing each other so close. Not quite getting either advantage over one or the other. But still, Softy for now holds the advantage, as we still haven't reached half distance.
Oh, for goodness sake, this bloody lag. I thought that was disastrous for Cam's race and championship then, as he went sailing straight on, but it was all a dream, Dom. It was all a dream. And Cam is still in a good place to challenge Softy in front. And as we're approaching, not really at half race distance yet, but it doesn't really feel like we've had a moment's respite, Dom. Oh, it was Cam Pitts. Wow.
Yeah, wow, that's very early. And he'll go to the soft. So again, in fact, Dan the Man, Roy have all done the same. So this actually could be crucial. If they all come out in clean air and don't get any sort of penalty for speeding in the pit lane or tapping anyone else, then this means Softy could come out behind all of them, because Softy now has to set the lap of his life. He needs to use all that battery that he's saved so far, because these 3 or 4 are going to come out on fresh softs and be very attacking.
And thankfully, Cam wasn't really held in the pits either, so not really losing any time. Dan the Man stays ahead of Jovial Manatee, just as is Court Gill. So Cam's going to come out of the pits then. Where's he going to come out? Just behind Alistair Bain in P10. He's got a bit of a gap to Alistair. What's the gap going to be? 3 seconds? 2.5, 3 seconds? 2 seconds. On the soft tyres. And at least he's got a lap to get those tyres up to speed. And we saw that actually he kept them in a very good window in Japan. Similar track in terms of a lot of fast corners here in Qatar, so will be crucial for Cam to keep them in the window. Dan the Man lost out a lot there. Look, he's nearly 3 seconds behind Cam now, so not good for Dan.
I wonder if that allows Softy to maybe do a couple of laps extra than Cam. Maybe he'll think, okay, there's a gap there, I can slot in behind Cam, but I'll have much fresher tyres, much better battery usage, and I'll go for it after that. But Dan the Man needs to kind of get a hurry on here. In fact, he's pulled a bit pace back on Cam, who's lost a few tenths to Alistair. I think Alistair actually has pulled clear. Yeah, I think Cam's had a little bit of a moment, and he doesn't need that. He needs to set a brilliant out lap. He needs to get those tyres warmed up, because Softy is in the pits, as is Hickey, Mirko, and Machine Island.
Yeah, this is huge. This is huge. And Cam needs to get his head down. Cam needs to get this sorted. And at the start of this lap, he was. But as the lap went on, the time started going away from Alistair Bain, peels off into the pits. And look at this, Dan the Man's only a second behind now. Dan the Man's tyres have come alive, and Cam's struggling. What's going on with Cam?
It's very strange. Cam's really struggling. Look at him. Sure I don't know what's going on. He's going to be a sitting duck here. I'm not quite sure what's happening. Softy's crucially going to come out ahead of these lot, and look at this. Yeah, easily.
Cam's really struggling. I've no idea what's going on here, but Dan the Man was all over him there, and Jovial Manatee does actually pull off a fantastic move on down the man around the outside into turn number 1. But Cam had a fantastic advantage. Did he use all of his battery? Is that what happened? Was he on hot lap? I have no idea, but if he was, it was daft.
Really messed that up as Cam. Now it's just about holding on to P2. Net P2 ahead of Manatee and Dan the Man. Dan the Man has been overtaken by Manatee. Great move, as you said, into turn 1. Down on those medium tyres, the opposite to everyone else who's racing at the moment. Jordan and Alyssa Chiapelli have chosen to stay out for a bit longer, but Cam, he's running out of time. He needs to try and close that gap on Softy. Make sure he stays within DRS at least, so at least he can be pulled along while he tries to build up that battery usage.
Well, that's disappointing. And Cam got a penalty. He's got a 3-second time penalty.
Oh dear.
And, well, it's gone from bad to worse in a matter of a lap. I mean, a lap ago, I was thinking Cam was going to sail into the lead of this race. Now he's going to be lucky to finish on the podium.
Yeah, not looking good for Cam at the moment, is it? Softy has got Mr. Chiapelli in front of him, but thankfully Mr. Chiapelli pulls into the pits, which is good news for Softy. But Cam is still caught straight back up to Softy. He's using everything now to try and get through. He's going to go for an attack in the turn 1, is he? Too far back.
No, too far back, and his battery's gone. His battery's depleted. Nothing. Nilch. As Court, I've just missed Court making 2 places up on one start finish straight. I'm so sorry, Court. I'd love to have seen that, but I've missed it. Please put it on YouTube. As the Dutchman moves his way up now to P3. And look at that further back. Jack Hickey putting John as 2 former TGP1 champions battling away for P6.
Court having a rare moment of brilliance in TGP1. What a move. I didn't see it either, so I can only assume it was fantastic. But he's got through on Manatee and Dan the Man, so he must have just zoomed past them going into turn 1. And Johners, Jack Hickey, Machine Island, all over the back of this quartet as well. It's now a 7-car fight for what is P3, and this could crucially allow Cam to build that 3-second gap if Court doesn't quite have the pace to match the front 2 and keeps those behind stuck behind him.
Yep. So the gap, interestingly, between Court and Cam, as you just said, Dom, we'll keep an eye on it, 2.5 seconds, but Jovial Manatee, well, Jovial Manatee might smell a second place here. Look at Machine Island, he was disqualified from qualifying. Oh, and he's just had a spin. Oh, I'm so sorry. The commentator's curse working instantly. And I was just about to say he's put himself in a really good position, and he hasn't now, actually. But anyway, back further up, down the man is going back even further as Johners now put to move on. Interesting, down the man's on the medium tyres. I didn't see him start on the softs, but clearly he did.
Yeah, he went for the alternate strategy. He went for the softs. I was thinking maybe he'd pit early, but I think he was caught out by so many people around him, like Jovial Manatee and Cam, just pitting the same lap anyway. So he didn't really gain the advantage of having that extra lap on everyone else. But Dan the Man, yeah, now in a real fight to try and keep with the faster, softer runners. But he'll hope the tyres come back to him in a couple of laps' time. If he can just stay in this train, it could still turn things around. Yeah,
well, let's see how things go. We've still got 5 laps left of this race. Thank you very much for joining us so far. I hope you've been treated to a thrilling 800 and 801. That's not good, England. A TGP1 race. Japan certainly was a corker. Let's see if this one is going to follow suit as we reach the twilight stages of this race. And, well, we're sort of at the sunset of the season as well, aren't we, really, Dom? We've got 4 rounds left after this one. But meanwhile, Jack Hickey putting pressure on down the man, who is still going backwards, and Jacko, quite rightly, saying Softy shock, Softy winning, and I think that's entirely accurate.
Yeah, Softy's lead is 9 points at the moment. Make that up to what, 16 at the moment. 7-point swing in his favour, looking good, isn't it? We've got to move further back as well. Down the man coming straight back on Jonas. Wants that P5 back, and looks like he's got it. Up the inside, gets very close to Jovial Manatee, but Jonas is still there, but for now has to settle for P6 as he looks to defend from Jack Hickey now.
Maybe we're seeing the sort of crossover between the mediums starting to come to Dan. Maybe that's a bit an exaggeration, I don't know. But Dan the man certainly, ever since he's got past Johners, has been able to turn his attentions onto Roy! And they've made contact! And once again, I'm doing a great job of cursing people tonight as Dan the man loses the place to Jean after clipping the back of his good friend, Jovial Manatee.
Court Gilson's looking very good here in P3, isn't he? He's kind of keeping that gap to Jovial Manatee. I thought maybe Manatee would come back at him. Court has some really good pace around here. all the insults I gave him last time out, I take them back because he's doing really well. Look at this, Jack Hickey wanting to get involved in on this scrap. He's fighting down the man through this fast, twisty section. It looks like he has the quicker cars, the quicker tyre life at least. Down the man seems to be a sitting duck at the moment. John has got past very quickly, and now Jack Hickey looking to do the same. Is this an overtaking opportunity? I don't think it is, and he's for now has to settle behind.
Yep, Jack Hickey looking quite racy as he's going to try it up the inside of the last corner. Don't see many overtakes there, and that's why, because the two of them have made contact, and that has allowed Viva La Mirko through into 6th place, and the two of them have lost a lot of time and a position each, and that is not good. Nicked good for Dan and Jack Hickey. Viva La Mirko will be, well, I'm sure he'll be writing Dan and Jack a Christmas card for that one, but meanwhile, Jovial Manatee turning his attention to Court Gill. I'm not going to talk about Court because he'll crash. Meanwhile, Machine Island has crashed, and his very good race has very quickly come to an end. Meanwhile, back at the front, still 6/10 of a second separating Cam and Softy, but with that 3-second time penalty for Cam that we spoke about a little bit earlier on, we need to rely on Softy getting a penalty for that to really be a race. But with the gap 5.2 back to Court at least, that should allow, what am I trying to say? Cam to stay in second.
Well, Softy does already have 2 warnings, so one more would give him a time penalty as well. Cam is on 4, so he can still afford to have one more before then getting another penalty. So maybe he might actually tactically cut a little corner. I would never recommend that, but he could. He has that one free kind of warning to use if he needs it. Softy is still under pressure here. Cam is keeping him honest. And at the moment, Cam still has a chance of winning this race.
Yep, Cam staying where he needs to be. And as we start the penultimate lap, it's still within touching distance. Also, talking of touching distance, Jovial Manatee keeping Court Gill honest for the last podium spot. Maybe we're going to start seeing tyre wear come into it a little bit, as Dan the man, meanwhile, further back, has got his way back past Viva La Mirko. And Jack Hickey will be looking to try and do likewise after their little coming together at the final turn. Just over a lap ago. Oh, look at this. Meanwhile, EOT Jordan and Wet Lemons having a good battle for what is P9. And I haven't talked about them much this evening. Not very much at all this season, I will be honest. But meanwhile, Wet Lemons having to defend going into turn number 6. And ERT Jordan might be looking for the cutback. And these two still going for it. Look at this. This is great battling, Dom.
It's brilliant. I'm loving Wet Lemons' livery. One of my favourites on the calendar. I think it's one of the Alfa Romeo kick liveries, isn't it? Very nice. Look at that. Red and black. Beautiful stuff. Jordan's... It's okay. Jordan's livery's okay. Not quite the same as Wet Lemons', but it's okay. I'm not quite sure what that sponsor is on the side of the car. I don't know if you've seen that, but it doesn't quite work the white with the... Anyway. Wet Lemons doing very good here.
I think Jordan might want to have a little think about its livery for next week if we're still running these cars, that is. I mean, they say blue and green should never be seen. And you know what? Right now, I think I agree. Meanwhile, we're starting the last lap. And Cam, look at this, Dom. 3.5 tenths behind Softy.
Yeah, it's close, isn't it? He's keeping him honest. Softy.
Oh, and Roy's got past Court. Oh, it's a disaster.
That's a shame. That's a shame.
Anyway, back to the battle for the lead, and Cam is still keeping Softy honest, and we've got, well, just over half a lap to go, Dom, and unless Softy runs over the white lines, you have to say he's got this one in the bag.
Yeah, looking good for Softy. Even if Cam was to do a lunge, he might just let him go. He knows as long as he doesn't get a penalty himself. Softy may be taking it very cautiously, a little nervous here around this final lap. The gap staying around 3/10. Cam is getting very close to the back end, but time is running out. Just about a sector of this lap is to go. Cam keeping him so tight, but unfortunately for him, he's ran out of time, and Softy looks like, going to hold on for an 8th victory of the season. Yeah,
Softy has just about done enough, and he's going to extend that gap at the head of the championship even further. What did we say it was? It was 9 points. Oh, I thought Cam was going off there. I hate this lag. Court is still putting a lot of pressure on Roy further back, so he could still have a change for second, but there's going to be, it's at third even, but there's not going to be a change for first, as even if Cam can make a move on the run to the line, it's not going to be enough, as Softy takes yet another race win with Cam coming home in second. But look at this, we've got a drag race for the last place on the podium. Roy's going to have it. Roy gets it by 23 thousandths of a second. It's disastrous and it's gutting for the Dutchman, and who loses out to Roy. And Jonas comes home in P5. Dan the Man did recover to P6 with Viva La Merco 4 attempts back in P7. Jack Hickey was in P8 with a penalty.
Oh, Aidan Alistair. What a move from Alistair to take the final point from his brother, unless his penalties are more so than Aidan. They're not. He takes 14 from his older brother.
Oh, that's good stuff. There's going to be some food being thrown at the dinner table tonight in the Bain Griffins household. But driver of the day, Mr. Chiapelli, not sure what he did, but clearly someone thought he did enough. And we've got Softy carrying the Unijet. Sorry, civilian comment from Jordan. Apparently it's a B Netto livery. Jordan, whatever it is, stop using it. Meanwhile, Softy lifts the trophy aloft. Look at his team, absolutely delighted. Look at them all, beaming. Benetton.
That makes more sense.
That makes a little bit more sense. I have no idea what B NATO was, still don't. Anyway, there's celebrations going on the podium. Softy looks like he's brought his dad to it with him on the podium, which is nice. And let's give you a rundown of the classified results then. So, Softy, your race winner with New Zealand Cam in second. Third was Jovial Manatee fourth. Court Gill, very close for them over the line. Jonas was fifth. Dan the Man in sixth. He'll be disappointed with that, I think. Viva La Merco was seventh. Jack Hickey eighth with Jordan in ninth. Wet Lemons rounding out the top 10. Magic Poot Canada 11th. Mr. Chiapelli 12th. Matt Tibbles 13th. Alistair Bain picking up the last pointer we said in 14th. With Aidan Griffins finishing in 15th. And then our retirees, we have Machine Island, Mayor Quimby, Jack Pearson, The Confessor, and Kong Hoffner. Dom, tell me, who's the driver of the night?
Well, it's hard to look past someone that takes 2 wins out of 2. Softy winning both races. That lead is now up to 15 points with 4 races to go. I think it was a good race from Cam to recover to P3 in Japan and to fight Softy, push him hard and take the fastest lap in Qatar for P2. But yeah, good drive from Court as well in that race. Just missed out on the podium. Roy did get the podium. 2 top 5 finishes for him. And yeah, John has a bit of a quiet night after much promise from him. But yeah, really fascinating night. Great battles up front in both of them. And 4 races to go. I can't wait for Brazil and the US next week.
Yeah, for what will be the 802nd and 803rd TGP1 races. Well, we look forward to seeing you there. We've had another cracking night of races. 2 very entertaining races for similar yet different reasons. And we'll look forward to seeing you then. It is Austin rather than Las Vegas next week, isn't it? I should have looked at the calendar.
Austin. Sorry,
yeah, Austin. It is Austin. Well, Dom, any last words from you? Any final thoughts of wisdom?
Well, it's just been fascinating again to follow the battle at the front. It's such a shame that Confessor didn't quite have that pace at the start of the season, wasn't quite there for all the weeks, because he definitely has the pace to match Cam and Softy. But again, an incident between the two of them, not quite sure what happened in Qatar. I've pretty much guaranteed that we're going to be going into a 2-8 fight in the final 2 weeks. Looking forward to it, Mike.
Yep, I'm looking forward to it. 11 points separate our top 2. 2 weeks to go. 4 races. Be there or be square, I think, pretty much. Well, once again, I've been Mike Noon. He's been Dom Smith. We've very much enjoyed having your company, and we will look forward to seeing you next week. This has been a TGP Series production. For now, we'll see you on PS4. Goodbye.